There's been some assertions that somehow the Forest Service doesn't have enough folks available to fight fire, yet in my district, back in Oregon, which takes up almost 3/4 of the state of Oregon, I have immense amounts of national forest. And I have people calling me who have contracted with the Forest Service over the years to provide help. And they're calling me because they haven't been called yet. They haven't been asked to come and fight fire yet. And that's because they haven't been needed. But they're standing by. They're ready. They want to go to fight fire if needed. And that seems to be glossed over by those who are, not sure, calling out, attacking, whatever the word might be, the removal of red card folk, this ignoring by design the fact that we have people available to fight these fires that are not even being called up yet. So I want to call that out. And by the way, I don't want to wish more fire, but I do wish these people would quit calling me. But the one leads to the other, I suppose. But I'm going to slide away from that.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Bentz, real quick to your point, though, I just want to clarify that. So we do have contract crews, and that number of crews, Type 2 crews, has grown over the last 10 years from about 400 to 800 Type 2 crews. So what you're hearing from are folks, you're exactly right, that have invested contractors' time on equipment and resources that have not been fully utilized this year. We did have a predicted fire season that was, so far, has been less than what was originally predicted. But so we do have outside crews in addition to Forest Service employees that do support firefighting efforts.
You do. And while we're on that topic, I've also heard from folks in my district that have been involved with the Forest Service for many, many years, a level of concern about the nature of how the Forest Service contracts with them. And specifically, they're worried about the lowest cost approach as opposed to the long-term high-value approach. And I know that the Forest Service engages in both, and that's fine, I suppose, but can you share with some words of encouragement for those who have spent so much of their time and money getting ready to be available and doing their best to do a really good job, that they won't suddenly be underbid by outside folks coming in from who knows where?
So, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Bentz, a couple things there. One, we've heard from the same folks. I hear from them regularly in terms of our contracting procedures. We are looking over the next year of revamping and revising our blanket purchase agreement, which is how we bring those crews on. And you're right, there's ways to look at that. One, you look at their distance to an event or an incident, and you also look at the rate that they've been quoted. So if someone is closer or bids a lower rate, the system pushes them to the top. So we're going to be looking at not just their proximity and the rate that they quote, but also the value. And part of that can be by preseason qualifications and reviewing some of those crews. There used to be a day, we used to, Oregon Department of Forestry used to do some of that work for the Forest Service. They no longer do that, but we're also going to be looking at preseason. What can we do to assess some of the value that is being talked about? So those are things we're working on over the next 6 to 12 months.
Thank you for that. And there's something that's coming up way too often right now. And even last night in a telephone town hall meeting I was doing, I had a lady call in from, I believe it was the Medford area. Don't quote me on exactly where she's from, but her fire insurance had just been canceled. And her indication was that Farmers Insurance was going to withdraw from Oregon, from supplying any sort of fire insurance. This is extraordinarily bad news for all the obvious reasons. But the question is, what can we do about it? And that we have high-risk categories that people can go into, but that's not the right answer. The right answer would be, how do we drive down risk over the long run? And that driving down of risk would suggest that we need to have a policy of going to where the most houses are and figuring out a way of reducing fuel around them in a way that's consistent with risk reduction, working with insurance companies. Is there someone in the Forest Service that's focusing on this insurance risk reduction issue?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Bentz, I think there's a couple things to think about. One is, what can we do in the wildland-urban interface to address the wildfire risk on federal lands? I think the other piece, though, is landowners have their own responsibilities as well. So if you're a forest landowner and you have a home in the forest, you have to take actions to manage your own ground as well. So there's some personal responsibility that goes along with this. And different states have addressed this differently. I know California's got issues where insurance companies have pulled out. Florida's had the issue on hurricanes. We've seen this in North Idaho where you can't get insurance in some places where you live. So part of it is partnering with the right groups. There's a lot of entities out there, nonprofits, that work with landowners directly to help them manage their own ground. Do they fire-wise programs that encourage them, what kind of setbacks they need to have for tree removal around their homes. But a big focus is for the Forest Service, both in the wild and urban interface, where we have federal forest lands that threaten communities, managing those aggressively, and then looking at even beyond just the immediate WUI, what do we need to do to protect communities? And that's a focus for us right now.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Yield back.